So the final use case, and then what I'll do is I'll show you a little bit through the UI what that looks like, is a little bit different. So in this case, so it's an example for full memory dumps. So the ingestion step is quite different because I kind of take less action for it. So for example, setting kind of a little bit of a scenario, during an incident, an analyst decide to do a full memory dump of a machine. We have a service in LimaCharlie called the dumper service, and you can ask it to dump the memory or the MFT table. And so that analyst says, I think something's going on in memory. We want a forensic memory dump done of that box. So instead of going over to the office, installing stuff, or opening RDP and all that stuff, with like one click, the analyst says, okay, do a full memory dump on this box, go. The service will go and run the full memory dump, and it automates the process as a whole. So it will run the memory dumper, it will take the resulting memory dump and automatically ingest it into artifacts in LimaCharlie. So that can be, like memory dumps can be pretty big, right? They can be up to the size of the physical memory of a box. So you could easily nowadays have a 16 gigabyte memory dump. So that way you kind of automate that whole process of having it sent to the cloud, and you don't have to go and mess with like plugging in a hard drive or any of those things. So once the memory dump is done, automatically sent to artifacts in LimaCharlie. And it's sent with a specific type. So when you upload an artifact to LimaCharlie, you can actually give it a hint. You can say, by the way, this is of this type. And the memory dumper does this. It says, by the way, this is a memory dump. At this stage, in the convert stage does not actually is not actually able to parse it into JSON. There's kind of there's a few different aspects to that, but ultimately a memory dump can be very, very, very messy, very, very complex to parse. The things you want to extract will vary a whole lot. So it doesn't make sense to try to create a JSON of a 16 gigabyte, full memory dump. So in this case, the convert stage doesn't really do anything. It's able to go and look at it and say, you know what, I don't know what to do with this, so I'll just pass it along. It's not a failure. On the detect stage, we don't have a JSON format, so we're not going to be able to run a DNR rule today on the JSON representation of it. However, an ingest event will be generated. So we could easily say, maybe as a security organization, we have a capability to take memory dumps, and we have an in-house process that we know how to process memory dumps. And I want to automate this. I don't want to, every time I take a memory dump, go and do clicks and download and all that manual stuff. So what I'll do is I can have a DNR rule that says, hey, by the way, when a memory dump comes in, I want you to to execute this service, to send it to some other service, or to send a webhook, or to do a bunch of these things, so that perhaps like on premises or in the cloud, where I do own my own pipeline to do analysis of memory, full memory dump, I can get that. I can use the APIs, because remember, everything we do is always public API. So I can use the API, go retrieve it from the cloud, where I know it's safe, secure, good retention, fast. I just get it, do my thing on it, and maybe I generate a bunch of executables that I decide to feed back into the artifacts on LimaCharlie, because I know that LimaCharlie artifact system understands Ps, so I can write DNR rules on Ps. So you can see that it's really not like a static flow, right? You really have the ability to do incredible things here. And because a memory dump is really big, maybe I decide to go and only retain it for 3 days, because I make the assumption that I'm going to be taking it out of LimaCharlie at some point to go and do my own parsing. So that's a little bit of a different different example. And so for the configurations there, it's not the greatest mapping, but essentially you can subscribe to the dumper service with one click. and you can make a request to that service where you tell it, the retention, like which endpoint you want to do the dump on, if it's memory or MFT, and then you click request, and that's it.